All right, let's consider something profound. What if the core message, the central proclamation of one of history's most pivotal texts, has been, well, lost in translation for centuries? Not just slightly tweaked, but fundamentally misunderstood. Today, we're diving into a scholarly project that's on a mission to peel back those layers of history to get to the raw original message. This is what's known as the Kingdom Hermeneutic Synthesis. So the mission here is, honestly, it's incredibly ambitious. We're talking about a completely rigorous and totally unbiased restoration of first-century theology. The whole idea is to sidestep all the centuries of traditions, of denominational lenses, of cultural filters, and just hear the message the way its very first audience would have heard it. This isn't about creating a new interpretation, not at all. It's about recovering the original Evangelion, which is, quite literally, the good news, the royal announcement of the kingdom.
Okay, so a natural question comes up, right? How on earth do you even begin a project like this? Well, the credibility of this whole thing, it doesn't just rest on one person's big idea. It's built on a massive foundation of academic strength. Think of it as 4 giant pillars of modern, peer-reviewed scholarship.
And this is where it gets really interesting, because you see these different fields all coming together. You've got N.T. Wright, who is a master of the first-century Roman and Jewish context. He really grounds the whole thing in history. Then there's G.K. Beale, whose work on temple theology shows us how the ancients saw it as the literal meeting place of heaven and earth. After that, we have Michael Heiser. He opens up this whole supernatural worldview, the divine council, stuff the original authors just took for granted that their audience knew. And finally, Tim Mackey, who is brilliant at analyzing the deep literary structure of the Hebrew narratives. Put them all together and you have an incredibly powerful academic consensus. It's a real powerhouse. So you have all this incredible research from these absolute giants in their fields. But let's be real. How do you process decades of dense academic work and connect all the dots? That's where the second piece of this puzzle comes in. We're talking about the intelligence system. This is where ancient texts get a little help from some seriously cutting-edge modern tech. At the heart of this is something called the knowledge engine. It's powered by Google's AI, and its job is basically to devour all of this incredibly complex information. We're talking dense academic papers, hours of lectures, really complex arguments, and then it organizes it all into a dynamic, interactive format. You can almost think of it like having a direct conversation with the scholars themselves. It takes what feels inaccessible and makes it, accessible. So how does it actually work? It's basically a 2-step process. Step 1, the system just takes in all the raw data. But step 2 is the magic. It's called chunking. And no, this isn't just making a simple summary. The AI actually transforms the material into all these different high-quality formats, things like videos, outlines, you name it. The key is it keeps all the important scholarly detail, all the nuance, but presents it in a way that's so much easier for us to actually understand. Okay, so we've got the rock-solid scholarship, and we've got the high-powered tech to process it all. But that leads to the next big question. How do you actually communicate these profound truths once you've uncovered them? This is where the strategy shifts to creating what they call keys to the kingdom, finding a way to make the ancient world speak clearly to our modern one. You know how Jesus used parables, right? He talked about everyday things that people understood, farming, seeds, fishing, to explain these huge cosmic ideas. Well, this system does something similar. It uses modern parallels and illustrations as keys to unlock these deep truths. The core idea is that so often, the answers are right there, hidden in plain sight. These modern parables don't replace the scholarly data, not at all. They just give us the key to finally unlock it and see how relevant it is for us today. So, after all this work, all this scholarship, the AI, the communication strategy, what's the end game? What is the so what of all this? This, my friends, brings us to the grand revelation. It's all about the absolutely transformative power that's unleashed when you finally hear the original kingdom message with total clarity. This project has a name for this outcome. They call it the Monroe effect. And what is that? Well, it's the idea that there is a specific understanding of the kingdom that once it clicks has the power to literally transform entire nations. The reason they name it that is because it helps explain why leaders like the late great Miles Monroe could fill stadiums all over the world. See, he wasn't just preaching a message about personal salvation so you can go to heaven when you die. He was proclaiming a present and coming kingdom with massive, real-world, even governmental implications. And that message changes everything. Okay, let's make this super practical. Let's take what is maybe the most famous verse in the entire Bible, John 3:16. We all know the traditional version, right? For God so loved the world that whosoever believeth in him should have everlasting life. But this restoration project argues that a first-century listener would have heard something very different. They would have heard this: "For in this way God so loved the cosmos, so that everyone who yields their loyalty, allegiance, and trust to him shall participate in the life of the age to come." Whoa, let's just pause on that for a second. World becomes the entire cosmos. Believing isn't just a mental thing, it's about yielding your loyalty and allegiance, like to a king. And everlasting life isn't just living forever, it's participating in the life of the age to come, a new era of reality. That's not a small tweak, that is a profound, game-changing shift in meaning.
And really, that's the thought I want to leave you with. It's a pretty provocative question when you think about it. If a single verse, one of the most famous on the planet, can be so radically reframed just by putting it back into its original historical and language context, it just makes you wonder, doesn't it? What else have we been missing? What other absolutely critical truths about this powerful kingdom message are just sitting there, waiting for us, hidden in plain sight?